That is the Warlock Discord, guys. If you guys are not in it, please join it. It's amazing. People, that's where we all hail from. So that's where you'll find all this information. That when we start going off of numbers and sims and shit, Rye or the Jpaint are the ones who handle that. It's a well put together server. We all spend a lot of time in there helping out everybody. The whole point of this is just to help everybody out. All right. We're gonna do a parse guide this week, but then we waited on it. That's gonna be next week. This is gonna be an hour-ish long episode specifically tailored around gearing. All right. We'll go over each head slot, quick gems and stuff like that, or each slot of armor, and say what you can get out of T4, what you should be using for each. We'll cover each spec, and yeah, let's get into it, bro. So, how are you guys doing? Back to you guys. You guys have a good week, right?
Yeah, dude. You have a good one.
Are you guys ready for this?
Yeah.
You guys excited? You got some nuggets for the boys today?
I got some
little
stuff.
gems.
Oh, happy meal, really, man.
Okay, well, I can jump straight right into it. Then you ready?
Let's do it. Blast us.
We can go over gyms just really quick, just because people ask us a lot, and I'm just gonna go ahead and start it with saying this is the only meta gym you're gonna use pretty much the entire game. That's we all know that right now. This is the reason why we're using T4 helmet, not spell strike, right? You can use one of these. I use these for blue sockets all the time. You can only use one because they're unique, so go find one, slap in your blue socket. Otherwise, you got to use your blue socket with this one. I say blue socket because if you're running like Frozen Shadow Weave, that's a blue and a yellow, and you need it for the 3 hit rating on the socket bonus. That's what you use, and then you just socket your hit. It's common sense. We've all done this before. I'm just doing it for those who happen to have not known. If you need a lot of hit, you're using Great Dawnstone. If you don't need that much hit, you're using Veiled. If you don't need any hit, using 9 spell damage. You guys want to chime in on that at all?
No, that's pretty fair.
Pretty simple. Yeah, pretty simple.
Pretty straightforward.
I personally love using the Great Dawnstone because I'm a cheapskate, and then my server up until very recently, people just didn't have any idea how good it was, and technically it's also one of the best gems that we have. I think slightly better than Veil, but you reduce a little bit your reusability of gear, especially for trash packs. But I mean, it's not that big of a deal, especially in T4 because there's not that many trash.
I agree.
Also,
sorry, finish.
Sorry, just finish on the hit. There are some nice green gems to set up to activate the meta gems that give like 5 hit and like stamina or MP5.
Yeah.
Which you can also use just to activate it if you still need a little bit to get it over the edge.
Well, if you need the double blue socket, that is the best gem, like the best estimated DPS value gem that you can use. But touching on why those are good and touching on why Great Dawnstone is good is I've seen a lot of Warlocks just even inspecting people on my server, and a lot of Warlocks seem to think that their default go-to gem, if they're not gemming for the socket bonus, is the Rune Living Ruby, which is actually wrong. If you look at the estimated values of like spell power versus hit rating, if you're not hit capped, hit rating is worth about 1.9. It depends on your gear, depends on your raid scenario, etc., etc. But let's say that you're fire spec near phase 1 BiS and you're not hit capped, then hit rating is worth about, and again it depends on your values, but about 1.95 DPS, and spell power is worth about 1.01 DPS. So you can see that hit rating is worth roughly 90% more than what one spell power is. So if you were to look at like Great Dawnstone or even Veiled Noble Topaz, they come out better than Rune Living Ruby if you're just looking to fill the slot without going for any color bonus or anything like that. And I agree with Ryusei that Great Dawnstone is really, really good. However, if we were to go for filling with Great Dawnstone or filling with Veiled Noble Topaz, personally, I like to fill my slots, my non-socket bonus slots with Veiled Noble Topaz. More flexibility in the items that I get to choose, because if you're filling with Great Dawnstone, you reach hit cap at such a fast rate. Even if you're trying to specifically not get hit items on your best in slot gear setup, you still end up getting hit rating eventually anyway, because just a lot of the best gear has hit rating on it, even if you try to not go for double hit rating rings or single hit rating ring or anything like that. So me personally, Great Dawnstone and Veiled Noble Topaz, I feel like DPS value, they're very similar, but I feel like Veiled Noble Topaz, depending on what gear you have, is slightly more flexible.
Thank you for chiming in that much. I really appreciate that. I never even thought about that too. That's good. Jpaint, anything you got to say about this with gyms? I know it's just gyms, but just in case.
Gymming wise, so I think a lot of people are like, oh, I'm gonna wait to use Chaotic Skyfire Diamond until I get tier 4 Helm because it has a meta slot, blah blah blah. I can tell you right now, I'm not using tier 4 Helm and I'm still using a meta. I'm using some blue out of Arcatraz in Canner's Helm just because it has a meta slot, right? Your meta slot is pretty much the highest DPS you can put into your character at this point in the game. Like, no one piece of gear is better than that meta gem you equip. So prioritizing that meta gem is more important than waiting for tier 4 Helm to get the meta gem.
Wow.
Just want to make sure everyone knows
To piggyback off that, I actually, in this recent video I did on this exact slide, said don't worry about putting it until T4, so I'm glad you cleared that up. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Well,
That's
from
why
a
I tell
gold
you guys,
perspective,
these are the guys to go to, bro. These are the guys I go to for everything, so.
well, I don't know. They're 200-300 gold last time I checked.
Yeah.
If you don't want to spend the gold, of course, you know, wait for tier 4 Helm, but I don't think you need to. You should not. If you have the gold, you should be using a meta gem whenever possible.
I've seen. Sorry, go ahead, Life.
Well, I was just gonna say, I think it just depends on how committed the person is into improving your character. But if you're playing any spec that has the Ruin talent, which is pretty much all the specs other than UA and Deep Demo, if you have Ruin, just spend the 200 gold. You can farm 200 gold in like what, an hour and a half. And it's just such a high value gem if you have Ruin whatsoever. And I don't know about you guys in chat, but my guild has been super unlucky on Warlock tokens since we've been clearing since week 1, and we're even doing splits, right? And we've only seen 1 shoulder token for Warlocks and 1 chest token. And I think like 1 or 2 helmet tokens, and we have 5 Kara groups. So I wouldn't just say, oh, you know, I'm going to wait till next week. It'll drop for sure. I'm gonna wait till next week. It'll drop. That sounds like you're sniffing some copium to me. So
yeah, that's how you do.
Never wait, never do that
for 6 weeks straight.
Well, you should also never in your life, coming from a raid leader's perspective or officer perspective, GM, whatever, you should never ever be like, yo, I'm not gonna do this because I know I'm gonna get one from raid. Like, unless you're literally like, oh, hey, Crix, you're next in line for fucking Skullgridan, don't worry about it. Then that's something different. But if you're like, you're running 4 or 5 Warlocks, bro, you don't know when you're gonna get it. You should never go into it. It's a bad look on your point too. That makes like a raid not want to give you loot if you're just being lazy because you don't want to get something because you're expecting for some to raid. So don't do that.
Yeah. Also, funnily enough, I've seen some Warlock like go, oh yeah, I'm just gonna make spell strike while waiting for tier 4, and like, no man, just take any kind of blue, like take Oblivion or even take the badger one or whatever, and just slap the gem on it.
Bro, you can get the fucking spirit
it's
shard
5
one.
times cheaper. It's 7 times cheaper. Why the fuck are you doing spell strike?
You're not saving yourself money by just making a spell strike helmet.
Yeah, anyone wearing spell strike helm right now has made a bad decision.
Well, here's the deal. We're gonna get there because we have a head slot.
Yeah.
Let's not flame them yet. But I do want to say, Jordan is asking, is there raid bots for Classic? There's nothing like raid bots, but there's simulations that you can run. It's a little more hassle than raid bots. It's not as easy as just pressing a button. But if you look in the Warlock Discord in the sim spreadsheet, you'll be able to find them. And someone just linked one right above us, actually. If you want to link that again, whoever linked that.
I think I
new sim. Oh, I see it. Yeah, spam that. So this is a new. I don't know if it's a new sim, but if Rye and Jpaint are the sim guys, and if they're saying this is legit, then I trust them. Hey, after gyms. Consumables, we're not going to go into it. I just want to express the fact that consumables are important. Just real quick. If you're a Fire Dash show, don't show up the raid without flame caps. If you're just a piece of shit, just don't do it. You need it. If you're a demo, you should have Kibler's Bits and Scrolls of Agi and Strength at all times, or don't be demo, right? As for your mana pots and Desher pots, go ahead, guys. You guys go over there. Let's see what you guys say.
Mana pot versus Desher pot. We touched on it last week, but I'll go over it again real quick.
Yep.
Mana pot is always better than Desher pot if it saves you a stationary life tap, and you can use all of that mana that you gain from the life tap before movement is forced. Right now, to be honest, there is not a lot of fights where you should be mana potting. High King, not long enough for you to mana pot, most likely. Gruul, you should be tapping as much as you feel comfortable while spreading, so you get a lot of mana there. Gruul is the only fight I see potentially you could maybe use a mana pot. Yeah, that is the only fight right now where I think you could mana pot is Gruul, because life tapping during spreading can be a little bit scary, right? You don't want to life tap and then take 4k damage and die. But Mag, for example, almost you should never, unless you're stacking the ads and seeding them at the start, you should not be mana potting, because you should be at 100% mana every time an earthquake happens, and that mana should last you until the next one.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say I completely agree with Jpaint. Like my guild personally, we've been experimenting with the 3-2 stacking method on Mag and even the 4-1, and let's say we don't pop Lust on the ads. We're only popping drums. I think Mana Pot, if you're seeding, is just 100% the way to go. However, for Mag in specific, you have a built-in mechanic that just gives you the most optimal time to cast Life Tap, and that's the knock-up when he's trying to do the Blast Wave. You can fit like maybe a Conflag or a Shadow Burn, or depends on what spec you are, but you can fit in 1 to 2 instant casts, get them on cooldown, and then you still have plenty of time to get 3 or 4 Life Taps off even after you've done those instant casts, which means you have plenty of time to pump and dump all your damage between the knockups, and then you should be getting close to by the time the next one comes, giving you another window to Life Tap for basically no DPS loss at all.
That's something we're going to talk about next week on the parsing episode and stuff, but just know for now, usually a Destro pot right now, unless you really know what you're doing with the mana pot. Most people are going to gain more right now from using a Destro pot on cooldown, just because not everyone manages their life taps efficiently. Destro pot's just going to be better.
Yeah,
Actually, everyone in Crix's chat is Warlock experts, so they know what they're doing. Yeah,
that's true. Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
I honestly think though that right now maybe Gruul for a standard, for like most of the time, maybe Gruul you can see some use out of Mana Pot, but yeah, otherwise Destro Pot, which is sad because of course they're like 10 times more expensive than the Mana Pot, but
I love Mana Pots, bro. I fucking chomp on them. I would get used to using them because T5, T6 Sunwell, baby. Whoo! You'll be loving those Mana Pots, bro. The Mana Pots are nice. At first, you don't like them because you're like, it's not damage, but it's nice. Next section, go over Fire Res gear. We're not going to go over an entire Warlock tanking part of this, but for those that don't know, there's a tank in SSC. Usually the second boss, whatever way you go, but typically the second one you go to is Leothar's the Blind. You need a Warlock to tank it, and he has to be Cat Fire Res gear. This isn't all the gear, but the reason that we're bringing this up because this is a badge farm. You need 100 badges for these. This is something I suggest every Warlock get. Even if I am the main like Warlock tank for Blind in my guild. If I get hit by a bus tomorrow and it's raid night, I'm not going to be there. So they need someone else to step up and do that. And more times than not, on every private server I've ever been on, every guild I've ever been, there's one Fire Res Warlock, and then there's nobody else who can do it. And then you guys are just like, oh, we can't do Leotheris this week, or we're stacking Hunters, or we're doing some weird shit. So if you have the time, if you don't have the time, don't worry about it. But if you're one of those guys, no life in this game like we are, like you got time to play games, you got you got offhands, you got your icons, I would suggest starting and saving up these badges to get these pieces and help your guild out. And this is also a good thing if you're kind of like trying to earn your spot, maybe for lack of a better word. You're over there trying to like really show off a little bit to your raid leader and trying to like show up with this, bro. Link him these and you'll sound a little good. There's some green pieces we'll go over at some points. It's not. I just want to bring it up real quick and see what you guys thought.
Also to note on the Fire Race, the attune for the eye, the attune question between the Cipher of Damnation and the whole Magteridon killing thing, you get a good neck that's 24 and a ring that's once again another 20 plus Fire Res, which is obviously you'll have that before tier 5, so that helps a lot as well. Yep,
and also the green you fill in when you need 365, including your Fel Hunter or as Shadowprot and all that. So just do the math. This is 200. I'm bad at math, so I'm not gonna do it for you guys. But you can just go get greens. Literally, they're cheap right now. They might go up a little bit maybe later, but they're pretty cheap. And also, this is with use. Whoopsies. Cool. Gonna fuck that up. All right, just gonna keep fucking it up. This is also with oh shit. How'd I get back to that? This is there it is. This is also with what's the word I'm looking for? On private servers, you need 365. You might not need 365 if the game's much easier. So that's another thing to think of. We'll know when we do some raid testing though. Yeah, well, talking that up again.
I don't know. To me, I would say to my guild, like, yeah, I can definitely farm 100 badges. That's no problem. I can tank it, no problem. No big deal. But when those Sea Witches vestments drop, just remember who was there for the guild. You guys feel me? I mean,
if you're just a Warlock in a guild, bro, that's smart. If you're a Warlock in a guild, you got a lot of Warlocks in there, unless there's like an Officer Warlock or a GM Warlock who typically gets them first, like show out and get that, bro. Just show completely balls out and did it. It's different on private servers because this is already out after like a month instead of having 3 or 4 months to do this. We still got like 2+ months, guys, to get this. So it's just get some badges and get it. Run it. We got a new trinket you guys need. Some of you guys might not know you need to get that you're gonna need to get as well. So hold off for a little bit. We'll talk to that when we get to the trinkets. It's actually not on the slides. I know you guys know what I'm talking about, but essence, yeah, I just forgot to put it on the slides. I really wish I did. Anyway,
We'll talk about it.
Yeah.
okay, before we get into gear again, just over tier 4. We don't need to go over each piece. We just want to talk about how the importance of T4. Like, it's kind of common sense that you like T4. Like, this is gonna be a little spicier for all of us because I don't agree with some of the things that Ryan and them think. But they're right usually, so you know. But we know T4 is very important for 2-piece. You should be prying your 2-piece immediately as soon as you can. I don't care, even if it's like legs, shoulders, and you have spell strike. Just use that until you can get another one, and then drop it for spell strike and so on and so forth. T4 is very, very important for us. The 2-piece is the 135 spell damage for whatever. I mean, shadow or fire, and then even the 4 set, which at first glance looks like it's kind of garbage, but for Demo and Affliction, that's kind of nice. I like the 4 set for that. For Demo Affliction, increase your duration by corruption and emo by 3 seconds, which then allows you to have to reapply that dot less often, right? Because it gets extended, which means you're spamming more shadow bolts or incinerates or whatever you so choose. What do you guys think? Chime in, baby.
Who wants to start? Ryu? I know you did a big type up, so lay it
Sure.
on us.
Sure. So yeah, first thing first, 2 set. We all know it's really good. So it's about 20 to 25 DPS ish, pretty much. But you know, it's pretty good because when it procs, it's actually fairly chunky. So you can just pretty much add cooldowns on top of that, and you know, it helps to compound things. But on the 4 set, so that's actually fairly interesting. As Crix said, the fact that it increases the direction of the dots that you have means that you're spamming more Shadow Bolt. And the thing is, for Affliction and Demonology, both of these specs are actually using both dots, both Corruption and Immolation. Because, as opposed to Destruction, which basically kind of only use Immolates. So they do get the full bonus of it. So let me get a little bit of the nitty-gritty on that. Basically, the idea is that you're gaining, like, from Immolates, you're basically going from like 4 cast per minute to 3 1/3. And from Corruption, you're getting like from 3 1/3 cast, 3.3 cast per minute to about 2.8 cast per minute. About. And just this save time, if you assume that you reinvest all in Shadow Bolt, which you might not entirely be doing because life tap or downtime or whatever, but if you invest everything into Shadow Bolt on a fully raid buff setting, and with all the proper synergies and everything, on the average damage of a Shadow Bolt, you're actually looking at the 4-piece bonus that gives you around 40 DPS, so nearly double what the 2-piece gives you. Which, obviously it's in a vacuum, but it's huge, so we don't really, you shouldn't really sleep on it much. That said, it's mostly for Affliction and Demonology, because natively they use those 2 spells. For Destruction, the picture is a little bit more muddled, so if you only use Immolate, theoretically, it's about the same as the 2-piece bonus, but the problem is, it's an opportunity cost. So the idea is that, of course, you have better slots, for better gear to use in the slots where you use the 3rd and the 4th piece. So it's not that good. And also, as I mentioned, if you life tap and everything, on average, the effectiveness decreases. That said, for Shadow Destro specifically, if you have 4-piece, it actually adds Corruption back into your rotation, even though it has a 2-second cast time. So that's something fairly interesting and needs to be kept in mind. And the idea is that, yeah, if you add Corruption back into the rotation, it decreases the variance. It kind of like increases the average. So if you want to go for the top parse, the best strat is still like spam Shadow Bolt and hope to get lucky. But generally speaking, you start having better results having in Corruption. And it helps because it alleviates a little bit of the turret aspect of Destro, having a 2nd dot running.
It just feels like cancer casting it, of course. 2-second cast time.
Of course, yeah.
I personally would never run 4-set of Shadow Destro. I'd rather run, like in this situation, like I am in that situation. I don't run 4-piece. I run Frozen Shadow Wave robe shoulders.
So
with my 2-set being gloves and crown. I'd rather do that.
There's a few things I'd like to add. You would probably run this as DN as well, because you keep up corruption as DN and you keep up immolate. And on top of that, although this is obviously very, very minor, but on top of that, that extra tick of corruption is just another chance to proc Nightfall. And even in like a multi-dot type of scenario, like if you're multi-dotting Magtheridon phase 1, like let's say you're not stacking and seeding, you guys have them spread out and you're going for the multi-dot type method, having that extra tick before your dots expire is really actually quite nice. Now, there are a lot of variables that I'd like to point out about this 4-piece that Ryu kind of started to touch on. So this 4-piece, it does gain value because it allows you to cast more Shadow Bolts. You gain about 1.75 seconds of a Shadow Bolt cast every minute that you have this. But that 1.75 seconds that you're gaining is only if you're assuming that you're managing your dots perfectly. You're reapplying your dots at the perfect time. You don't have any, you're not clipping them. You're not, clicking on a cube on Magtheridon or positioning yourself after a ground slam shatter on Gruul's Lair or something like that. And it loses value if you let your dots fall off and stay off for 3, 4, 5 seconds because you're doing a mechanic. Then it loses value. On top of that, not only does it lose value if you're doing a mechanic and you can't just reapply your dot immediately, but the better your guild gets, the faster your kill time is going to be, and the faster your kill time is on any specific boss, the less amount of value that this is going to generate, because it's more of a time-based generator. So I think that the 4-piece is good. For me, for example, as Demo, I'm gonna be rocking the 4-piece because the tier pieces, have a nice amount of stam, intellect, it's what Demo wants, it's nice. But there are a lot of variables. So if you're not good at managing your dots, maybe don't go for it. If you have a lot of jobs, like you're doing multiple banishes on phase 1, or if you have multiple Cursed Tongues or anything like that, maybe don't go for it. And on top of that, if you have like a super fast kill time on High King Mulgar and you're going for like a top world parse or something like that, this is not the set bonus that you want to go for during a speed kill.
Yeah, no, I agree with all that for sure. Like you said, for a speed kill, probably not the way you want to run. You just want to cast Incinerate, cast Shadow Bolt, hope you crit, right? I just want to touch on, again, how...
Well, actually, you know what? Because if you think about like a 15, 16, 17, maybe like a 20-second kill, it's nothing bad to put Corruption up as your tanks, the tank's running in there, you can put a Corruption up, and that Corruption lasts an extra 3 seconds.
We can talk
maybe
about that later, but you should be pre-casting Soulfire, Shadow Bolt, something. So, you don't really... But we'll talk about that next week. But I just wanted to reiterate how big the Tier 4 2-piece bonus is. It is... We're looking at like 25 to 30% uptime on it, which means anywhere from 35 to 45 spell power equivalency. So, like, prioing that is huge, right? Like, for me, I have Tier 4, all I have, I think right now, is Tier 4 pants. I don't have Tier 4 helm. But say I got Tier 4 helm tomorrow.
You're getting dicked.
I would throw on Tier 4 helm, and I would throw on my Tier 4 legs and lose Spell Strike, because that's a DPS gain for me to lose Spell Strike. That's how good the Tier 4 2-set piece is. It is extremely strong. You should prio it. It usually comes out to, like, if you're breaking Spellfire for it, it usually, like, if you're just maybe replacing gloves, it comes out as a bonus to run to break Spellfire and to run 2-piece. So it's just something to sim, something to keep in mind. 2-piece is huge.
Okay. All right. Thank you, gentlemen, for your input. Now we can go on to the slots. Now this is going to be less of like where I go, hey, Head, what do you guys think? Ryan, Jpaint, I already know what to do with the Shadow side. We have Demo side over here with Live, and they play Fire. I don't know Fire. I know Fire. When I have a Fire question, I'm not kidding. If I have a question, I literally go ask them about Fire. Like, yo, what is this for Fire? And they have to tell me. So we're just going to go over the Head slots. And it's all like right away is T4 helm. You should be going into phase 2 with your T4 helm. Like, there's like, we just went over Tier 4, the meta socket, everything in this is 100% what you should be doing. That's it. Like, there's not, And then Spell Strike. And I know it's so confusing because every guide in the world said to run Spell Strike. And I even got shit in the comments for it. But, like, guys, we didn't know that meta gym was going to be in there. Nobody knew. It wasn't supposed to be in the game yet. So that's why everybody said Spell Strike. If you are one of those people who do not have Crown and you crafted Spell Strike, then don't worry. Because Spell Strike is still really, really good. Like, you can still run Spell Strike and be fine until you get your Crown. I don't know about crafting it, waiting for it, unless you're just like, know that you're running 12 Warlocks. You're never going to get it.
If you were gonna run Spell Strike right now, you're better off, getting like the Hood of Oblivion or the Incanter's Cowl or even the Badge Helm and putting the Chaotic Skyfire Diamond in it. There's no real reason to craft Spell Strike. If you haven't crafted it at this point, don't ever.
Yep.
It just don't.
Nope. And if you're looking for an alternative, I mean, this goes for Fire Dasher as well. That's why I'm just not gonna. We're not gonna spend too much time in the head slot because we've already talked about T4 and the meta socket a lot. I mean, this one from Nether Spider is a good one to wear if you don't have anything else. If you look at the stats, it's fine. It's just missing sockets, right? It's missing a meta, it's missing sockets. It looks like a Spell Strike without sockets. So this is a perfect placeholder until you get this, right? But it's also from Karazhan. So if you're not getting T4 Helm because you're not going to Karazhan, you're kind of burnt, right? But this is just good. We're only listing it because it is a T4 thing, and it is pretty good. It's just not as good as T4.
I mean, just like Jpaint said, just take a blue, chuck the meta gem in, call it a day. Honestly, even like just farm a few more badges, take the helm, done.
Yep.
There you go.
Yeah, even that works.
On to the next. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, on top of also farming badges for the fire resist gear, of course.
Of course.
One sec quickly. I see a question in the chat that says Affliction for Helm. They don't care about the meta gem as much. So real quick, the answer is yes, they do. I know a lot of people think that Affliction kind of like doesn't have anything to do with crit, but think about it this way: you're still spending 65 to 70% of your time casting Shadow Bolt, and there's improved Shadow Bolt in the mix. So yes, you like crit. You still like crit, and the meta gem.
You gotta remember, at this point in the game, you're not running UA. Like the usage of Affliction UA is so small, is much smaller than people think. Like, I get questions of when they should switch from UA to SM Ruin, and they're like fully tailor geared, like 20% crit, wondering if it's time to go to SM Ruin. I'm like, bro, I would have went to SM Ruin fucking day 4. Like, I hit 70 and I got a little bit of gear. I'm already SM Ruin. And as SM Ruin, you're spamming Shadow Bolt still. You just get to put dots up. And you still get the crit. So.
Especially with CSD being in the game. Like, maybe things you might wait a little bit longer if CSD wasn't in the game. But
that's what I was
now that we know Chaotic Skyfire Diamond's in the game, grab Ruin and just pump.
That's what I was going to say. The fact that Chaotic was in the game pretty much threw UA out the window right away. It can still compete if you really like the game style, the gameplay. Like, you can play it, but
honestly,
you can play it, but you're gonna be less than SM Ruin by a significant amount.
Yes,
it's not. UA and SM Ruin are not close.
Yeah, just for movement and mechanics. Like, if just really, if you want to take advantage of the design of the encounters on Magteridon and Grow, maybe UA like can work because there's a lot of downtime, but geez, yeah, generally speaking, you should be SM Ruin most of the times.
Anything else for the head boys?
No, I think
as we go through these sections, I guess you guys, if you have questions, can put one in there, and then like say we go to neck and I see the head question, we'll go back and answer it, so we don't have to do it at the end. But up to you guys.
I think
we're with the next.
I was just gonna say, I think we can sum up the whole head topic by just getting a meta socket.
Yep. Get a meta socket until you can get T4. And that's where I faulted on this. I should have maybe added that too. This is why I got my boys here, man. I'm not perfect. All right. We're the next. I'm just going to speak for Ritson because I love Ritzen's Lost Minute. That is my favorite neck in the world of the game. If I could keep it forever, I would keep it forever. I use it as Affliction, DN, Shadow Destro. I like it. I love it. I love it. I love it. I'll let you guys chime in on the fire side over here. Or on any of the next period, but go ahead.
So for fire, you're obviously not using Ristons, right? Because plus shadow damage. But your other options are obviously Adornment of Stolen Souls or Brooch, right? You can wear either of them. Whichever one you get first, whichever one you roll on first and you win, that's the one you should wear. Some people say, "Oh, well, Brooch is so much better because you get 15 hit on it." Blah blah blah. Well, if you get Brooch, you're good, right? But if you get Adornment and you have no hit on your neck, then just throw hit on one of your rings. Like, you're not locked into one BiS list that you see online, right? There is 7, 8, 9 ways to gear that will like give you within 5 DPS of each other, right? For sure, there's one single BiS list, but there's so many different pieces of gear that are so close and different setups that are so close. Whichever one you get at these first for Fire Destro is the one you should wear.
I totally agree. I mean, yes, that if you were to look at just the DPS estimated value in a vacuum between Adornment and Brooch, Brooch comes out ahead if you can use the hit rating, because if you add the estimated value of the hit rating plus the spell power, it's just more estimated DPS value than Adornment of Souls. But the issue is can you effectively use that hit rating, especially if you're using like Veiled Noble Topazes for your gemming and things like that. And most oftentimes, if you run Brooch of Unquenchable Fury, you're easily going to go over hit cap if you're pushing near BiS. So just like Jpaint said, it really just depends on what items you have. Yes, there might be like an ultimate simulated perfect best in slot list, but you might not reach that, especially with Warlocks being one of the main classes that you see in TBC raids. You know, you have to share your loot with a lot of people. So by the time the next phase of content comes out, you might not have the dream best in slot list. So you kind of need to just go with the flow and kind of gear towards what you currently have and what you know you might have priority on going into the future. And both of the necklaces can be plenty fine.
And just to piggyback off that, I like, so someone asked about Shadow Destro. I love Shadow Destro. I mean, I know it's not everyone's favorite, but I like, that's my go-to, right? I used to always prefer Wrist Lost Pendant over that for the shadow damage. However, we have a lot of Warlocks. We run like 8 or 9 Warlocks in our main raid, but we split. But like in our main raid, we'll be. I like Adornment of Soul and Souls because of the crit for ISB. I like that crit strike rating more than I like that hit rating. Obviously, so like they said, whichever one you get, use. It boils down to do you need hit or do you need crit, right? But like preferably, I like Adornment of Souls just because of the crit strike. Ritson is good. Go ahead, Jimmy.
For Shadow Destro, you're talking Adornment of Soul and Souls is like 2 DPS better. It is better because I mean that 20 intellect gives you almost a fourth of a crit too, plus the crit rating you gain. So your equivalent spell power in Ristons is probably like, I don't know, 50. I'm just spitballing, probably like 53, 54. Whereas your other one is obviously 51, and you obviously gain your immolate damage from Adornment too, rather than just losing all that damage on your immolate from Ristons.
Yeah, and just to go off that again, is the problem with the thing that I have with Ristons is I'm a Shadow Warlock, like not Destro, but like all the versions of Shadow, whatever the specs are, and I have 3 Frozen Shadow Weaves, that's shadow damage. I have a neck, that's shadow damage, and then what if you run Orb, that's another shadow damage. Just a bunch of shadow damage for a spec that you're keeping up immolate. I don't like having that much shadow damage because that's a lot of damage that your immolates are missing on. You might as well want to keep it up at that point. Like, so I like having, like, I have Frozen Shadow Weave, right? So that's 3 shadow pieces. Okay, I like to have my offhand and my neck not be shadow, but that's just like personal preference. But you know,
I mean, you might not get to a threshold where it's not useful to cast Immolate. I think it's about more than 300
it's
shadow damage, but you still don't want to gimp the Immolate for no reason at all. Especially since like these are good alternatives. But yeah, back on the neck, completely agree with that. With whatever was said. Basically, take the first that drops in your lap and itemize around it. Like they're all very good options. Honestly, you can't really go wrong.
Next, going out, balling out. What's next? Got some shoulders. Well, there's nothing too fucking crazy here. T4 shoulders, shocker.
Yep.
Like this is one of those slots where I only have Frozen Shadow Weave listed here as a backup. Like, there's nothing to be said here. You want these. Like, these are prio to you guys. I know it's kind of like shoulders are. We only have like 1 drop in our raid. Alive, you know, it's RNG obviously, but Alive hasn't seen them. This is what you want. You still have 2 months to get it. Right. In the meantime, I'm using Frozen Shadow Weave shoulders just because I have them. If you're Fire Destro, I don't know. If you're Fire Destro, I don't always use Mantle or Torn Heart or something like that. But it's.
Oh, you can. I'm using while waiting. I'm actually using Mana Etched Pauldrons.
Mana Etched, okay.
Like they're okay.
You like that better than Torn Heart? Pauldrons of the Torn Heart in the Mantle?
They're about the same, right?
Yeah, they're about the same. Like it's just that I got them, so I was like, yeah, might as well use them because I don't really have that good spots.
Something to touch on here from just like a loot perspective. If for some reason you're in a guild where you're running Shadow and Fire Warlock, say like 2 and 2, Fire Warlock should 100% be prioed the tier
Mantle?
4 shoulders.
I agree with you.
Because Fire basically has to run Helm shoulders 2-piece, right? Whereas, and they have no other option that's even close to good, right? And whereas Shadow Locks have Frozen Shadow Weave, right? So that's just something to consider. As Fire Destro, you really, really, really want these. A Shadow Destro, they're a big upgrade, but not as much as they are for Fire
They're a big
Destro.
upgrade, but these Frozen Shadowy Shoulders cost like $27 to make, or I mean 27 gold to make. Like it's so cheap. Not really, but it's like the cheapest one to make. 8 fucking Shadow Cloth. Like
Yeah. Fire just has the least flexibility, basically, to sum it up.
Yeah, but there's nothing much more here. I mean, get tier 4 shoulders.
Yeah, so we're gonna spend too much time here. So I need to go do something with my wife because she's staring at me. So I'm gonna let you guys talk about the cloaks here. I'll just chime in and say that this is a world boss cloak that many of us won't get. So don't cry if you don't get it. But if you got it, I hate you. Be right back. Go ahead.
Yeah. So about cloaks, well, let's discard the world boss one. But basically, you have the choice of it's like the neck. You have a hit and a crit one. I think technically the hit has a little bit more item budget, but same. It's if you can use the hit, use the prince one. Otherwise, if you're jamming a lot of hit, like like I am, and like a lot of warlocks kind of should be, at least jamming the veiled noble topaz. You might end up having enough hit to just run the crit one, the gruel one, and it's gonna be good.
So something I want to throw in real quick from a tier 5 perspective. I've made tier 5 BiS lists, and I just want to throw out there that this gruel cloak, or I guess it's the High King cloak, I guess you should call it, is on the tier 5 BiS list, and the Ruby cloak is not. So that's something to consider in the long run. Yeah, Ruby might be better for you right now, but in tier 5 you're going to gain so much hit that you don't need that hit on your cloak, and the brute cloak is going to be stronger.
If you have ruin, some of us might be playing with the fell boy, so just tossing that out there.
Yeah.
But in that case, you're just gonna get the you're still not getting the hit cloak. I think because
you want the 44 spell power one. Yeah,
exactly.
I think so. For me personally, I'm going the Veiled Noble Topaz route, and I still have enough room, enough leeway in my hit rating to go Ruby Drape of the Mysticant. And I feel like if you can utilize the hit rating from Ruby Drape, it's really quite good. But then again, I'm running Demo, so crit is slightly less valuable for me since I don't have Ruin compared to Fire and Destro. But even still, I feel like in phase 1, it's just like the neck. You get what you get, and you kind of gear around it. Like if you got the crit cloak, then try to go for the Moros neck and make up for your hit rating that way. Or vice versa if you get Ruby Drape and the Mysticant. But both of these cloaks are really, really good.
Yeah, last thing I want to throw in on cloaks is if for some reason you still have Cloak of the Necropolis, you are fine in tier 4 with that. That's what I'm wearing right now. It's a very, very strong cloak.
It's
obviously
a middle ground option. Actually,
it's
right
very
in between
strong. It's very strong. It's better than the brute. If you're gaining all the hit from the cloak or Ruby, the Cloak of Necropolis is a little bit better than brute cloak, but obviously worse than Ruby. But Cloak of the Necropolis is a very strong option if you still have that from Nax. Alright, I think we're good on cloaks, right?
Yep, I think so. Crix, you
Alright.
back?
Backhouse is muted, sorry. You guys got cloaks handled? I trust you.
Yep, we did it.
Talker.
I mean, trust, you shouldn't trust us, generally speaking, but, we can move on.
Yeah, what if you guys just give me wrong information this whole time? Fire Destro people would hate me.
Man, we need to keep things under wraps so we can parse more, right?
Yeah. All right, next time, chest, boys. Oh, there's your Fire Destro one.
I mean,
there's your T4, and there's your Shadow Destro. There's your everything else besides Fire Destro one. What do you guys think? Let's go with the live first. Good demo, boy.
So obviously, I feel like everyone knows if you're running fire, Spellfire is just the way to go. But if you're not running fire, if you're going for Demonology or you're going for the DN spec, I think that the T4 chest is BiS, especially if you're going for the 4-piece set bonus in Demonology or DN. Again, there are many variables there. Depends on your kill speed, etc., etc. But if you're running either DN or Destro, I like this a lot, especially if you're trying to gem towards the Veiled Noble Topaz route, because then you get the socket bonus regardless. And yeah, the socket bonus isn't great, it's just stamina, whatever. But it's still nice to be able to attain that socket bonus with basically no downside whatsoever, since you're going the Veiled Noble Topaz route anyways. But to kind of piggyback off that, it could be an option for Shadow Destro as well. Is it like the most ideal option to get your 2-piece bonus? That's debatable depending on what gear you have. But like we were saying earlier, you have much more flexibility in the 2-piece bonus that you go for compared to Fire Destro. So if you have Shadow Destro Warlocks and Fire Destro Warlocks in your raid for some reason, then it'd be better for you to soak this token over the Fire Destro Warlock, because obviously the Fire Destro Warlock needs very, very particular pieces in order to reach their 2-piece bonus, as opposed to you as a Shadow Destro Warlock that can kind of mix and match what pieces he or she uses to obtain their 2-piece bonus. So to kind of TLDR some things up, I think T4 chest, amazing if you're running DN or if you're running Demonology and you're going for that 4-piece bonus. But as for Shadow Destro and Fire Destro, Shadow is variable, Fire, you just don't go for it whatsoever.
I agree.
Yeah, I mean, I think Alive just covered everything. Spellfire, obviously, if you're Fire, there's no other. You just have to craft it. That's your option. That's your bread and butter. But other than that, I think Alive pretty much covered everything right there. So, anybody else got anything for chest?
Just one real quick thing that I want to say on Fire. So Spellfire is like the best, period. The thing is, at one point, if people see old information, we were saying in the Warlock Discord that we may be able to bypass Spellfire chest for T4 chest. That's not the case anymore. That used to be just to proc the tier 4 bonus to go shoulder and chest, and now with the helmet you just go helmet and shoulders. So you definitely do not touch tier 4 chest with a 10-foot pole as Fire, even if you've seen like us discussing that earlier on, like a month or two ago.
Yep. No tier 4 chest for Fire. It just doesn't happen.
All right. Sounds good to me, brothers. Do I have anything to say on chess? No.
Can I kind of go off on a tangent here for a second? So Ryusei and Jpaint, I know that neither of you are close to BiS at the moment. I don't think any of us are close to BiS, other than the corrupt loot council. Other than corrupt loot council.
It is not corrupt loot council.
No,
it's not.
You will not convince me. No.
Yo, you know what's crazy is I've streamed all my raids and they'll tell you it's not corrupt loot council. It's just rolls, or a lot of it was just rolling off shit, bro.
Okay.
Like because all the warlocks are even, so we just roll it off.
Roll 99.99, you know.
Answer me this, okay? Who's the first caster in your guild to get the Gruul blade?
But it was rolled off between 9 people.
You also got it.
It was rolled off between 9 people.
Sure was. And
buddy. I won by 1.
Wow, what a coincidence. That's crazy. Anyways, so what I was gonna say is, how do you guys? It's not always relevant. Obviously, the cleaner your guild is, the better you guys perform, the less relevant it is. But how do you guys feel about having such low amounts of stamina as Fire? Like, even if we look at Spellfire robe, belt, gloves, comparing that to like T4 robe, if you're running DN or Demonology, there's so much stamina on the T4 robe. But on Spellfire, you just have very, very little stamina. And then let's say you're running Spell Strike pants too. They barely. Right.
I don't need it. You don't need it. You still have Demonic Embrace. You still have all these other things that are making you you're still tankier than a mage.
I think that it's not totally relevant if your guild is perfect, right? But I feel like these are things that your normal, everyday, average Warlock player in an average guild might feel. Like, what happens if you're on Gruul and people are a little bit too close and that shatter damage is an overkill of 60 damage or something? I don't know. I like being beefy.
Because basically, well, of course, I am Fire. I'm also still running some. No, but like
the dude with Soul Link. The dude with Soul Link in chat's like, yeah, I like being beefy.
I like being beefy.
Jesus Christ. But yeah, no, basically, so I'm Fire. I'm even rocking still some pieces from Naxxramas, so, definitely it's like less stamina than TBC. And, like, I'm not like on a top world guild, for sure. So, I completely understand what you mean. And it's fine. It's like mighty fine. Like it's like in classic, people were saying, "Oh, I value stamina a lot," and well, of course, people are saying don't get hit and everything. But at the end of the day, full buff have like 8k, 8.5, which is not much, granted, but you survive pretty much everything that get thrown at you. So if you're just a bit careful and kind of know the fight, like of course Shatter, like Shatter, I survived two people around me, and I won't survive three. And, you know that's fine by me, because if you're hit by three shatters, like something has gone seriously wrong. So maybe if I stacked more stamina, you know, I could survive three, but that's not the way I'm doing.
You won't
that
find me
anyway.
being a you won't find me being a stamina shell, dude. I
Yeah.
just
Well,
if you like, okay. For example, last week I got hit by High King Mulgar for 17k. Ain't no amount of stamina saving me there, you know.
Right.
But no,
Right.
I know what you
Totally, man.
mean.
again,
So-
I'm not trying to shill for it. I don't highly value stamina or anything like that. I don't think it's like make or break type of stat. I just feel like in an average guild, you know, especially on Gruul, High King, super easy. Mag, you barely take damage. But on Gruul, I feel like, you know, it's just doesn't feel that good, man. Just go play
Yeah.
Demonology. Screw fire.
Yeah, just play. If you're dying if you're taking raid damage and dying, just go play Demo. But
Or you know,
you
just
know.
get better healers.
yeah,
True,
If
true.
you're
Or-
consistently dying the
Or-
gruels, it's not a change
it has
spec
nothing to do.
problem.
Yeah.
It is a
Yeah,
guild.
it's
It is a
it's
guild problem.
problem. Yeah.
Right,
For
and
sure.
again, I'm not shilling for it, but I just feel like it. I don't know. I don't like the feeling of it.
I will say I don't like not having like when I'm open world farming as Fire Destro, for some reason say like I have raid tomorrow and I've already respect for it, and if I farm tonight, farming open world in full spell fire, it just doesn't feel great, right?
It's
But,
not the best.
yeah.
I think that's really I think that's also just generally speaking Destro problem, but yeah, it's just not.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah. All right,
That's
well,
it. I'm killing mobs before they reach me most of the time, so you know it's not that big of a.
yeah, we can move on to bracers, which aren't gonna have stamina either. So let's go.
I mean,
they might.
They might. They
So
might.
ju-
They
just
might.
to, just
Probably
to
don't.
just to
Well,
hit off
yeah.
on bracers, I wanted to say that bracers Havoc are still BiS. It's kind of cringe that it's BiS still, but it's, you know, whatever. I mean, there are season 1 bracers because they have crit on them. I don't suggest getting them though. I like bracers of Havoc, and I listed these maiden ones because of that little weird circle of demonic knowledge, and you know, with the stamina and stuff with the Felguard getting stats. That's kind of why I like it. I like that, but I don't have it. I just thought it'd be cool to list them there because of Felguard, because I run Felguard. You know. Go ahead.
Yeah.
And there's two bracers that are also in there that could be thought about. Well, Havoc is still BiS along with the PvP ones. They're basically neck and neck, and the PvP has 22 stamina more. But on top of that, so that's the PvP that's there. On top of that, there's the Crimson Bracer of Gloom, which I think are from Blood Furnace.
Hellfire.
Hellfire heroic.
Ramparts.
Hellfire.
Ramparts, yeah.
Ramparts, right, from Omok, I think, or something like that. And yeah, basically they're same. They're good. They're technically BiS if you can use the hit. But once again, another piece that's like if you can use the hit, it's really good.
Well, no, it's not
So-
if you can use the hit, because you can put a hit socket in the bracers. The bracers are BiS because it's versatile. Like, because you
Right.
might
Yeah,
not
no,
need hit one
that's-
time, and you can
that's
swap
cool.
back and forth. Right. As for
Oh, yeah.
so real quick before I forget, Rock Fairy bracers. Okay, Rock Fairy bracers are still good. The issue is bracers are better. So this is a BiS list. The reason I didn't put that on there is because these are 42 gold on the auction house right now. Maybe less than that, and they're better. So like, why farm a heroic for something they can lose it out? But I will mention, thank you, Ucarg, that animal boss bracers on a Shadow Wrath roll are bonkers. I can't find
Yeah,
them on
let's-
Wowhead because it doesn't
yeah.
show it, but
Let's
Yeah.
talk about that. I think they're
Yeah.
plus 58. I think is the-
55. So
I
from
saw
what I've
58.
It might be 58. From what I saw in like old dated comments, the bracers are 55. Might be 58. I'm not sure. I don't have video evidence or anything, just old Wowhead comments. And the belt, I believe, is 77. So both of those items are really good, but I'm pretty sure everyone here knows, like, yeah, sure, those items are good, but you could farm and reset that boss 3 hours a day every day, and the chance of you seeing those bracers or belt is really, really low. It's got to roll Shadow Wrath, which I believe is like a 1.7 chance, and then it also has to be cloth on top of that. That the chance of that happening is just so low. But you know, if you if you're good at winning the lottery, if you know you're the luckiest man alive, then yeah, sure, those are great. But for 99.99999% of the players out there, we will never see that item.
Yeah, I think I
Yeah.
ran the
we
math.
don't
It's
even
like
do
one
animal.
in a, it's like 1 in 1,000 of getting like your plus shadow or fire or whatever. Well, actually, you got to get the
Sounds
right
too wrong,
boss.
man.
It's
That's too wrong to be true.
it's so you got 1 out of 3 that you get the right boss, right? And then you got 1 out of 4 that it's cloth, and then you have, I think it's like 2% that you get plus shadow damage, right? Or plus fire or whatever. So you're talking about 1 in a little bit over 1,000 odds that you actually get those bracers. So if you get them, they are BiS, but whatever. I wouldn't farm them. Unless your guild really wants to do that for you and you want to spend 6 hours doing that lockout, just get Bracers of Havoc for 20 gold on the auction house.
Yeah, you have to get Rock on the Ravager boss to spawn, and then roll Cloth, and then roll Shadow Wrath. It's like kind of bonkers.
Yeah, and like Crix was saying earlier, like Crimson Bracers of Gloom, great bracers. Even Bands of Nefarious Deeds, they're fine. Even if it's Demonology, they're fine. But really, the Bracers of Havoc, they have great stats on it already. And then just the fact that it has a socket offers you that flexibility. So if you don't need, an 8-hit gem in there, you can go for a little bit of spell power. You can go for the Noble Topaz, or you can flex it to something else depending on what your stat weights currently are. So I would totally be leaning towards Bracers of Havoc over any other option, unless, of course, you're one of the super Omega lucky guys that gets the Beast Boss Bracers.
Yep. I guess Weapon is next, maybe? Is that right?
I want to look at these Veterans Cuffs. The Veterans Cuffs are not, I don't like those. Like, they're 22 spell damage, 14 crit, and a socket. So they're worth mentioning.
They're about the same as Avoc, actually. They're maybe 1 spell power better, depends on your stat weight, but they're basically the same. It's just that they have stamina on top of it.
For Shadow Destro, they're almost the same. For Fire Destro, Bracers of Havoc are better. It's just the fact that, like, if you're PvPing a lot and you have these bracers and you bought them with your honor, then sure, wear them and don't buy Havoc. But, like, from a PvE perspective, go to the auction house, buy Bracers of Havoc, do the same damage. But the general silk cuffs are comparable. If you have them, you don't need to buy Havoc. But from just a raw PvE perspective, just get Bracers of Havoc.
I would just save those bracers because you're gonna need season 2 bracers. Those are BiS for. We'll get that later, but that's what you use until LAR bracers. That's what because it takes 2,000 days to get 10,000 honor, bro. It takes so long to farm honor. It's kind of crazy. All right, next up, the gloves. Gonna open all these up right now. Open it up. I think I went too far. Cool. So Anger Spark gloves are from a world boss. We're not gonna delve into them. If you have them, congratulations. That's what you're using. Fire Dash is going Spellfire, and everything else goes Void Heart gloves. This is where I'm gonna leave it. I want to hear what they say because I go Void Heart gloves every time. In a situation where I'm only running 2-piece, I would see running one of these, whether I need crit or hit, and then dropping this if I have another 2-piece somewhere else. But I want to see what the boys think, man.
Yeah. So Fire obviously runs Spellfire gloves. Shadow Destro, you can or you cannot run these gloves. It really depends. It really depends if you want to go for your 4-piece or you don't want to go for 4-piece. If you don't go for 4-piece, you obviously don't wear tier 4 gloves. They're, I think, probably the weakest tier piece. Maybe the legs are a little bit worse. But if you're going for 4-piece, you obviously wear gloves. You could even not wear gloves and you could wear tier 4 legs, right? However you want to get your 4-piece is up to you. Demo does wear tier 4 gloves. I'm sure that's just the most efficient way to get a 4-piece. But it's also to take into consideration the hand wraps of Flowing Thought and the Soul Eater's hand wraps are extremely, extremely strong for Shadow Destro, which is Shadow Destro could be using them until 4-piece if they're going 4-piece, and Demo could be doing the same. They're extremely strong gloves. They're extremely strong for trash in general, because you don't need hit on trash, right? And your 4-piece is not helping you on trash as Shadow Destro. So all these gloves are good. Spellfire for fire, obviously, and then pick your poison for any of the shadow specs.
Anybody else have something to chime in? Kind of simple, but just in case.
No, completely agree.
I mean, yeah, I completely agree as well. Touching on the Anger Spark, which is a minor discussion since most of us aren't going to see these gloves. You could mix and match, like if you're not fire, you could mix and match what 4-piece bonus or 2-piece bonus you go for if for some reason you got your hands on these gloves, or when we get to legs, the leggings of the 7th circle as well. But both of the items are just incredible items. Even in T5, they're pretty damn good. But like I said, you're really not going to see these gloves. So I'd just default to what Jpaint said. I think you hit the nail on the head there.
Yeah, you kind of hug on the T4 gloves, especially in T5. You're still kind of typically running like head shoulders or head gloves of some sort. So, I mean, get used to them. Yeah, but the T4 ones aren't bad. They're actually really good. They're really good. What? Right?
By the way, likely head and shoulders.
Yeah. Yep. Head shoulders, what I would run for every spec if I had to. Yeah.
But you know,
that's what I was looking at too. Because you can't really go for the typical headpiece you go in T5 since Chaotic Skyfire Diamond's out. Like you need the meta socket. So it's like, do you go for the tier helm or do you go for the goggles and go NG? And the difference between the T4 helm and the goggles isn't great enough for you to want to go the goggles comparatively to the other pieces that you'd be dropping.
Yeah, that's a whole nother video for tier 5, right?
Tier 5, you would wear engineering goggles, not tier 5 helm.
No, I'm not saying tier 5. I'm saying tier 4.
Okay. Yeah. Didn't even know engineering goggles were in right now.
I'm talking about tier 4 for 2-piece.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, but in tier 5, engineering goggles are there, but like that's later, definitely. It depends on the spec, everything. But that's for another episode, as Jpaint said.
Yep.
Yeah, Soul Eaters hand wraps, low drop rate. I'm not sure. I like them. I like Soul Eaters. Shadow Destro, I prefer. If I would run like Helm, it's like you could run Helm Shoulders T4 and then run Soul Eaters, but you'd have to go with Soul Eaters versus Frozen Shadow Wave Shoulders, which would be the options, because then you'd run gloves and Helm with T4. I don't know. It's a whole vortex of options here. But either way, yeah, I like them. Next up, belt super simple belts, bud. Come and take it. Go ahead, Rye. You hear that?
Well, obviously, belt, fire, spellfire, easy enough. Shadow, Girdle of Ruination, Shadow Destro, and Demo, either Girdle or the one that's...
Every Girdle. It's all Girdle.
Yeah, or Divine Inspiration. Exactly. I forgot the name, but yeah. So basically, easy. From left to right, Fire Destro, Shadow Destro, Demo, and Affli. Kind of. Demo and Affli can also use Ruination, but you know. But, sorry, I actually did it perfectly wrong, but anyway. Perfectly wrong. So
yeah. I did a little bit of messing around with Demo builds and Affliction builds, and the Belt of Divine Inspiration actually came out pretty much ahead of Girdle in almost every situation. So if you are Demo and you plan on running Demo, don't craft Girdle. If you plan on getting Belt of Divine Inspiration first, it's better and doesn't cost an insane amount of gold. So something to consider. I don't know what Alive is planning for his Demo belt, but let's throw it over to him, see what he thinks.
Yeah, so I just went with Girdle of Ruination just because I didn't want to bother waiting to see if I got a drop.
Of course.
But even still, I feel like the items are really close. Like, if you really were trying to save your gold and, you know, trying to hold on to as much as possible, you could wait for the belt. But I wouldn't say that Belt of Divine Inspiration or Girdle of Ruination is like the clear winner in either scenario. I think they're both extremely close. Like for Demonology, spell critical strike rating doesn't affect your pet's critical strike rating. So the critical strike rating from Girdle of Ruination isn't as valuable as it is in other specs, especially since you also don't have Ruin on top of that. But you are still running Chaotic Skyfire Diamond, so it's not like critical strike rating's worth nothing. It's just worth less than it is in the other specs that you're running, which is the reason why Belt of Divine Inspiration comes out to be somewhat similar, where it normally would not comparatively to other specs. But TLDR, you know, if you don't want to wait for Belt of Divine Inspiration, Girdle of Ruination, in my opinion, doesn't cost that much, and it's worth crafting if you're sitting on a bad belt and want to upgrade immediately.
Agreed. I want to touch on why, again, Divine Inspiration is pretty good for Demo. I know it's niche, but obviously Demo, as you gain Intellect and Stam, your pet gains Intellect and Stam, and then you gain Spell Power. So that's another reason, because you're gaining 13 Intellect and 9 Stam just from switching that belt. And then the socket bonus for that belt is very achievable to gain 4 more spell damage versus the Girdle socket bonus of being 4 stamina is pretty worthless. But yeah. Spellfire for fire, Girdle for Shadow Destro, Belt of Divine Inspiration, or Girdle for Affliction and Demo. Pretty straightforward.
muted. Sorry about that. Someone was asking about Infernal Wastecord. 59 spell fire damage.
Yeah,
it's
so
spellfire, but worse, pretty much.
yeah, so I mean, it's worse than It's worse than Spellfire, and you don't get the set bonus of Spellfire by wearing it. So I mean, if you really didn't craft Spellfire, you're broke. It's a great option, but we're gonna assume that most people crafted Spellfire and are having the set bonus from it.
Okay, nice. There you go, guys. Easy peasy. Pants. Pantalones. Starting with the world boss pants that are going to fit right next to the everything else that's world boss related in the section category of we're not getting it. If you have it, I hate you. Congratulations. These are good pants.
If you have it, I want you to know that it's like 2 DPS better than Spell Strike.
Yep. And backing on Spell Strike,
Yeah.
those are your BiS pants. There is no reason why you should go into T5 without these pants on. Like I know they can be expensive, but it's what, week 6, 7, you could already have farmed them up if you wanted to. It's just if you don't have these right now and you're thinking to yourself like, man, I really don't want to farm those, farm 100 gold a day any way you can until then, and you'll be fine. Like, they're that good. The T4 pants are, T4 pants, but you just don't wear them because of Spell Strike. Anyone else?
Going back to something, I mean, the answer is pretty straightforward, but going back to something I touched on before, if, like, specific scenario, I don't have tier 4 helm, but I do have tier 4 legs as Fire Destro, but I wear Spell Strike right now. Obviously, if I grab tier 4 helm tomorrow, I would toss on tier 4 pants and helm and make my 2 set rather than wear Spell Strike. So it's situational. For Fire Destro, that's a specific example where you could go 2-piece over wearing Spell Strike pants, but typically Spell Strike all the way. That's going to be your best option. That's your BiS. That's it.
Sounds good. There's nothing much to chime on here. Thank you for the sub, Brian. I appreciate that, Boba. So go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, even if you're going for a 4-piece bonus, like Demonology, for example, I still wouldn't even go for the pants. You just want to stick with the Spell Strike pants. It gives you too much stats.
Yeah,
it's just too much.
It's too strong.
Boots. Frozen Shadowy boots, boots of foretelling, and ruby slippers. These are pretty much the only boots we're going to mention because these are the only ones that you'll probably be seeing and that are important. Fire Destro is going to go ahead and age towards boots of foretelling while everybody else goes Frozen Shadow Wave. You guys?
I mean, you pretty much covered all of it in 2 sentences.
Yeah, it's pretty simple.
Pretty much,
Ruby slippers are cool because there's a Hearthstone that matches your other Hearthstone, so it's worthless in my opinion. Right? Like, why? Like,
yeah,
at first, why did they do that? Like, hey, we made these boots just in case you scrapped your Hearthstone. I can't logically think of a reason why they're in the game.
That's thematic, like Wizard of Oz, bullshit, no place like home. But I mean, Ruby Slippers are definitely not bad. It's just that, especially we have hit gems, they just won't find a proper place. Anyway.
Yeah, I mean, look at the Boots of Foretelling versus Ruby Slippers. Say you put 2 8-hit gems in Boots of Foretelling. Okay, now you have the exact same amount of hit, 9 less spell power, but you gain 19 crit. So Boots of Foretelling are just better. Ruby is like a budget thing. If you don't, like, if you just get them and you don't have Foretelling yet, sure, equip them, but Boots of Foretelling are just better.
This might sound crazy, but for some reason, having sockets is better than not having sockets.
Yeah, crazy, right?
Wait, what?
It's kind of a new concept.
People lied to me. What?
Yeah. Trust me, Ryusei, I ran The Sims, and having sockets is good.
So another thing I want to touch on boots real quick. Another one of those rare bosses in Karazhan drops boots, but they plus roll shadow and fire damage. They go up to, I believe, 78 fire damage and shadow damage. So if you grab those, those are BiS. But other than that, these are BiS. So don't worry about that though. All right, I think we're on to rings now?
Yeah. So unfortunately, you guys, rings didn't really change much from your Pre-BiS besides the 2 rings that are added. And just to, they'll go more into detail than I will, but I'm going to simply say that ring slots I treat for hit. That's if you need hit, I put a hit ring on. If I don't need a hit, I put a crit ring on. And in occasion, you have Banded Crimson for hit, you have Ring of Reoccurrence for crit, and that's I kind of just bounce it off my crit. If I don't have an Ellie Shaman, I need more hit, vice versa.
Yeah, exactly. Ring is like one of the best slots to flex hit in. That's just really good. And you have so many options. Also for people who played Classic, you have 4 rings that you can get from there. You basically have a Cartoon Ring, you have the 2 Nax ring and 3 Nax ring. You have Band of the Inevitable,
Seal
the
the
fire
Dam.
ring and the seal of the dam.
Yeah.
All four are very viable, so you have a lot more option there. Like 3 of them give 8 hit, which is not an amount of hit that you find in any TBC rings, allowing you to fine tune it a little bit more. So there's that, and basically that ring is just to fine tune everything. Also, on top of that, if you don't need any hit and you have only access to TBC rings, there's the Violet Eye. That's also pretty good. I don't think I see
No,
it here.
it's a little less than recurrent, so I didn't put it on there. But yeah, it's
Yeah,
pretty
it
close.
is.
I think it's a
But
couple
you could
spell
get both
power
of them.
less.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
you could get both of them if you don't need hit at all.
Yep.
Right.
So-
And I
Yep,
think
yep.
this comes into play when we're talking about the items we were talking about before. Like, let's say you got the Moros necklace and you didn't get the crit necklace, or let's say that you got a different hit item, like you got Ruby Cape and you didn't get Cloak of the Ogre Magi. Then this is where that starts to come into play. You can start looking at your rings and be like, okay, well, I didn't get the crit cloak, I didn't get the crit neck, I got double hit neck. So now maybe I want to go for Violet Eye or
Right.
Ring of Recurrence or a double crit ring setup instead of a crit hit or a double hit setup.
Right. Rings is the easiest place to drop hit, gain crit, gain spell power. Like at any
Correct,
given
yeah.
point, I have like 7 or 8 different
Yep.
rings in my
Mhm.
bags for different scenarios. I have more rings than any other gear piece. Right. It's
And
just
if you need a little bit of crit and hit too, sparkling, you guys a couple rings that'll give you hit and crit and spell power, which is nice.
yeah. There's a lot of flexibility in rings. Choose
Plus-
what you need.
Plus, if you're a super big dick min maxer and you're trying to min max your seed damage on trash, trash is not boss level. You can drop hit rating, and if you want to slap with seed, put on those double crit rings, baby. Start slapping, and the next warlock beside you, he's gonna be wearing 16% hit or 13% hit or whatever, and he's like, dude, what the hell? Like, how come your seed is so much better than mine? You're like, well,
I got
know,
6
just-
more % crit than you, dude.
just get good, bro.
Small things like that are a big deal. Swapping, we're going that tomorrow. I mean, next week with the parsing tips, but that's
one
huge.
interesting-
Swapping for trash set is huge. Unless you're like me and you forget to swap back your hit set before you pull a boss.
It really,
exactly.
really is, yeah.
Yeah, one interesting perspective that I found talked about earlier is that if you have hit ring in your boss in your standard boss encounter set, it's way easier to drop it for trash because obviously it's not as if you like jamming hit everywhere and need to have an entire different piece or like the same but jam differently. So yeah, just the best flex ever
Right.
for ring.
All right. I think we're good on rings then.
Trinkets, which kind of fit in the same slot as rings, is where nothing really changes. This is probably the most boring slot here, but we can talk about. Is this going to do this for me? It's not going to. We'll go over these trinkets first. Mark of the Champion is obviously going to be BiS. There's not a lot of. Oh, wait, we're not. Yeah, there's not a lot of Mark of the Champion uses in T5 besides like Leo's
Mag.
Demon. I'm talking about T5.
Oh, okay.
Just preparing for T5. I would say like Leo's Demon. There's not a lot of demons where you get use out of this, but this is going to remain BiS if you're in demons. And it's going to be pretty much Icon and Quags, like are glued to you unless you need a hit where you'll swap on Blood Gem and Stone. That's all I got to say.
Or tier if you need it.
Yep.
That works as well.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I feel like tiers kind of slept on for the earlier stages of gearing. I don't think
Yeah.
it's like phase 1 BiS, but you
Mhm.
can really
Right,
hold
but-
on to it for quite a long time as you're gearing up your Warlock through phase 1. But yeah, I agree with Crix. Ultimately, just Icon and Quags are such good trinkets comparatively to the other trinkets that we have out there. Even in phase 2 and tier 5, they're still really
still
good
big.
trinkets. Yeah.
There's still
And they're-
pretty much BiS, except
Yeah.
for the card, but the card is an overall subject entirely. But yeah, Icon and Quag can't go wrong.
They're not from raids. Do your heroics, farm it, get it. There's no excuse not to, unless you just have terrible RNG with Quags. There's no excuse not to have both of these.
Okay, and since we're
Also-
talking about this, we're going to get a little bit spicy and we're going to talk about Mag's Eye and Lightning Capacitor because pretty sure you guys have been asked this a lot, just like me. I'm going to tell you guys right now. They look good. Well, Lightning Capacitor is trash, so I'll let them eat that up. Mag's Eye looks a little more appeasing, and that can be confusing because it does have good spell power. It has a good amount, like 54 spell power, so it kind of...
Yeah.
But the on use of 170 spell power or whatever, if you get resisted, is what we're saying. I know people think, well, I'm a warlock, I'm missing. I'm getting resisted all the time. Why can't I use this? It's garbage. I'll let you guys go from there.
Surprisingly enough, you get resist at just enough great to piss you off and to make Magzai useless. So, so you're losing on all fronts there.
I know
Yeah.
totally what you mean, man. It's like
So-
I'll be hit cap, so there's 1% chance to miss, and then I get 3 shadow bolts back to back miss, and I'm like, what is this game?
Yeah, I should have been using Quacks. No, but real numbers wise, at hit cap, Mag's Eye comes out to be like the proc of it comes out to be like 10 spell power over an infinite amount of time. So you're looking at a total of what 63 spell power. Is that right?
Yeah.
So,
Which is okay, but like you know,
It's
definitely
okay, but
nowhere
it-
near the others.
but it's worse than Icon and it's worse than Quags, and you can just get those right. You just do heroics, you farm them. It's just not good.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, if
Lightning capacitor is a little bit different though. It's
So like yeah.
well,
Go ahead.
lightning capacitor. Well, if we're gonna move on to lightning capacitor, I was just gonna say for Mag's Eye, you know, it's never worked in such a way where it worked for partial resist. I know I wanted to first look into that right away on beta, just on the off chance that Blizzard screwed up and made it that way, but
it does not.
it's not scripted. It does not. Yes. I've had a lot of people PMing me in Discord trying to confirm if it does or does not. It does not work on partial resist, you guys. Only works on full resist, making it, like Ryusei, just barely not enough, but only enough to piss you off.
On to lightning capacitor for a single target fight. Lightning capacitor is not good. For trash, for seeding, it might have application in tier 5, but you'll never use this in a boss type setting.
Yeah,
Okay.
well, lighting capacitor as so in beta we were seeing logs that basically said that in one seed you could actually get the if you had enough crits you could actually get the lightning directly. So you'd have like 3 charges instantly from one explosion lightning, and you know, basically you could have a lightning like every 2 seeds or something like that. From now what it appears in life, I mean I have it, I tried it, it doesn't seem to work that way at all, and it seems that it is indeed an ICD on the charge and not just on the lightning, which means that especially if you have like explosions that are in quick succession, I've had situations where basically even maybe just my bad luck, but from what I've seen, I've like had 4 seeds explode kind of at the same time and like in one charge, and I'm like, well, that's a waste of a trinket.
Right. It doesn't have too many applications. Maybe we'll
Yeah,
have some
no,
theory crafting on it for tier 5, but
For,
I mean, if no one wants-
unfortunately, just bad. Unfortunately, it's bad. Like it's super fun trinket, but you're not gonna get anything out of it.
if no one in your raid wants it, there's no Ellie Sham, there's no Arcane Mage or something, and they're gonna DE it, take it maybe for some
Yeah.
memes in the future, but you don't really need it. I wouldn't go for it.
Yeah.
What about Shifar's Nexus Horn? Someone's asking. I mean,
That's actually a really good trinket for seed. Only for seed. On single target, it's pretty much trash. Or like it's okay if you're like have really bad and have really have good gear and have nothing else. But as soon as you get any semi-respectable trinket, you get way better than that. And if you get quags and icon, like you don't even look at it anymore. But on seeds, as long as you're not AoE capped, it's great because seed benefits a lot from crit, and you're pretty much like proccing it nearly instantly. Well, not quite, but that's the thing. Like you're proccing at your first seed or second seed, and then you have the 130 or however much it is damage for the rest of your seeding session.
Yeah, I agree. The chance to proc it with seed is really quite high, especially compared to single target, and I think it's really, really good for seed. Maybe you could question a few things depending on if you already have Quag's Eye and Icon, but regardless, if you have it now and you don't have perfect gear or anything and you're looking for a seed setup, it is super, super nice.
I mean, in my seed, I have everything, and in my seed setup, I'm using that and Quag. It's just like so nice when everything drops, and like just you just have seed go brrr,
The dream.
Yeah, I actually have that. I have that, Quags, 4-piece Oblivion, and Blade of Wizardry rocking right now. So we're going heavy procs on the seed set.
How much did you buy your blade for?
1,700 gold.
Oh, that's not that bad.
Yeah, it wasn't bad. They're down to like 1,500 on my server now, but it's really 15. I was like 1,700 gold. I could farm that in 4 hours. It's worth it, you know.
Yeah,
So.
yeah, not bad at all.
Yeah, but I think that's all for trinkets. There's a lot of other small ones that just aren't as good as Icon and Quag. Icon and Quag is what you want to shoot for, but I think we're good on trinkets, right?
Get the juicy one. Weapons. Starting with this one.
Well, I mean, that's fairly
A
easy. Right?
Tish. I will chime in and say A Tish is a very good weapon. While being a personal DPS loss, you can expect to wear this until the back end of T6. I would say probably swap it. We all say typically swap it with Zardoom off of Illidan.
Or Tempest of Chaos.
We don't have one of these in raid. We don't have this in raid. I don't know if one of you guys do. If you guys want to chime in more, you have more experience in this than we do.
My guild. Go ahead, Jpaint.
Go ahead. You're fine.
I was just gonna say, my guild personally doesn't have one. I was playing EU for a super long time, but I was a boosty boy come TBC, and like half my guild were boosty boys. So we definitely do not have any ATH, unfortunately.
Yeah, same.
So I will say that from in a vacuum, all your warlocks are pressing their buttons just as hard, right? Everybody's doing equal amount of damage, and you're buffing either 4 warlocks and an Ellie shaman, or 3 warlocks, a boomkin, and an Ellie shaman with your 33 spell power, and your group actually stays in range of this aura. Yes, there is a range on this, 30 yards, right? You can't just run around the room or else it's useless. Then Atish, Atish is BiS until for raid DPS, Atish is your best weapon until you get either Tempest of Chaos or Zardoom in tier 6. So if you have it, your raid has it, good for you, you're pumping, but you will lose personal DPS. But from a raid DPS perspective, it is a gain.
So Gina in chat is saying with 4A, Theotok's not really worth better than Gruul's. The reason is it's a personal DPS loss, for sure. But you bring it because of the aura, which is 33 on each person and stacks, which is why you keep it, right?
So yeah, another thing is the aura stacks. So if you have 4 warlocks all using Atish, then every warlock is gaining 33 spell power from their own aura plus 99 from all the other auras, right? So they're gaining 132 spell power from them total. So it is very strong.
It's strong enough to where we're doing Nax runs for it. So I mean, it's worth it getting it. It is very good.
Yeah. One quick thing also on Atish, we see a lot of time the questions that, and do you not replace it at all if you have like 4 warlocks? And actually, the number of Atishes you have doesn't change when you replace it. Right. But yeah, I mean, bottom line, for red DPS, it's the best thing you can have until late tier 6. So like, for instance, what Neat is saying is trying to put that in perspective, but like, he's looking only at personal DPS. He's kind of like forgetting that he says that just Gruul plus badge is more spell power and crit on that, which is true for personal DPS. You need to think that raid DPS in TBC, generally speaking, raid DPS is better than personal DPS, and ATH is like the personification of it for warlocks. If you have it, you're like, well, you're using it. Period. Like, it's good for the guild, and at the end, what's good for the raid, it's good for you. Like, if you kill Morgar in 16 seconds, it's better than if you kill it in 2 minutes. Well, same idea.
Yep.
Just a lesser time frame.
Yep, it's one of those things where it might be kind of shitty to be stuck with that. You can still get back. Speaking of T6, even just right now, like you might be able to plug a Karazhan and get a Mind Blade still and have that for your parses if you're looking at it that way as well. And when you enter T6, it's kind of like, hey, this one guy has been gimped with that. Let's give him TOC first, or let's give him Zardoom first, or something like that. You know what I mean? But don't feel bad if you're using it. You're buffing up everybody, and people know what are.
Yeah, and then obviously your other option, right? I think we're moving on to that. ATH in the background. Talon of the Tempest, Boss. If you get this, cool. Don't expect to. If you do, though, it's your best weapon by a good margin. Other than that, you're either getting the Gruul Sword or the Prince Dagger. They're pretty much the same exact item, so whichever one you get first is what you get.
And I'd like to kind of emphasize that I feel like there's this stigma around the Prince Dagger that it should go to Ellie Shamans and Shadow Priests and Boomkins first because they can't use swords, and it totally should if you're trying to optimize your loot. But with this in mind, I've had a lot of people PMing me starting to think that, Gruul Sword's just way better because I'm not supposed to get the Prince Dagger. No, the Prince Dagger and the Gruul Sword are pretty much the exact same weapon.
It's 2 crit rating, bro. Don't be that guy.
Yeah,
don't be. Hey! Don't be that fucking guy.
It's pretty much the exact same thing. Yeah, you're not that guy, bro.
You're not that guy.
You're not that guy.
And it's not even 2 crit rating completely, right? Because you gain 3 intellect on the Mind Blade, which is, I don't know, close to 1 crit rating. So you're talking about literally 1 crit rating or like 0.04% of a crit. Like, they're the same weapon.
At 0.7, 0.8, 1 DPS maximum, theoretically, out of 2.3 to 2.5k theoretical. Like, if you have one and you see the difference between the two, like, honestly, I tip my hat off to you because I know I wouldn't see it, and I'm pretty sure nobody would.
There's no difference. There just isn't. Pre-BiS. Pre-BiS, we'll talk about it, I guess. Either the Thrallmar or Honorhold Exalted is your alternatives for Pre-BiS. I do want to say that you can go ahead and purchase a Blade of Wizardry if you want also. They technically are a little bit better than Stormcaller or Blade of the Archmage, but if you want to spend that gold, that's up to you.
Just buy one, Forehead.
Yeah, just buy one. Just get the gold, go to the auction house and buy one. It's really easy.
Easy.
Don't have to farm rep.
One thing real quick, sorry, that I see in the chat is that JJ asking sword to a prot paladin because they can't use daggers. And to this I say yes. So much so that, for instance, I literally hard prio the Gruul Sword to my prot paladin. Because, like, if he can pump threat, like, I can pump damage. So I think that's like a very good thing to do if you can. Or except if you're Crix in that case, you get like sword prior to you.
Shut up. It's normal to prot prio that sword, yeah.
I think the sword's really good on prot paladin for sure, but so I'm not sure that let's say my prot paladin, let's say I was threat capped, all right? I'm not sure that the sword is so much of an impact that I will not be threat capped any longer.
It's definitely
is
not.
It good on the prot paladin? Great. Right. If you're like right on the edge, sure. But like in my guild currently, my prot paladin's pretty geared, but he doesn't have this weapon, and I think he's missing like 2 or 3 pieces from heroics, like some of the random epics. And he was thinking mag and Gruul for us this week, and none of us were threat capped. Not even, we were like 20% off a threat cap. So
yeah, so that's
maybe that's just my personal scenario, but I feel like the chance for the sword to like barely put you over that tipping point is uncommon.
Obviously depends. So you need to see where the threat is, and I think it's true for pretty much all contested tank gearing. Is it something that will make it so you can pump more or not? In that case, I think that one ball.
Well, at the same time, Alive is speaking and he's demo, so he doesn't have as many threat issues as Fire and Shadow has.
That's also true. That's also true.
I'm threat capped to all hell, no matter what I do with any tank I'm with, pretty much. So I wouldn't mind my prop paladin get one, for instance, and like Gannett says, it's like if you're in a guild that prios it to a prop paladin, it's okay. Like, don't freak out about it. If not, then that's a good thing for you. But if you see that, don't freak out about it. Same with Fang and T5. Like, it just happens. It's part of the game right there. Now, if you go talking about Mind Blade to Shadow Priest and Ellie Shamans, no, that's not gonna happen, right? Maybe split Gruuls with a mage, maybe, or something like that. But you're not gonna. Mind Blade's your guys'. It shouldn't be anybody else's.
Also, funny that you mentioned Leviathan, because if you're really crafty, you just chuck the Gruul Sword to your prot paladin, and then you can yoink the Fang of the Leviathan for you in tier 5, saying, hey man, like, you should be good. Shouldn't be that much of an upgrade.
See, I feel like Jpaint is already milking this. He's gonna be like, "Oh my god, you guys! I've been sitting on Blade of Wizardry, which I bought myself for so long. I need this weapon. This weapon's mine." Jpaint's got like a 5-head strategy already.
Yeah,
in
dude,
action.
I've been putting it together, dude. Yeah, but that's really it for weapons. Get the first
actually,
one.
we can bring up. I guess there's Spellblade, Gladiator, Spellblade is another good option if you don't have these.
yeah.
If you have the 1850 on arena rating, which actually, if you guys didn't notice, the NA scene is super easy to get rating. So if you, I mean, it wouldn't be as hard as to get that as we thought it was going to be, but that's a good alternative too. I just don't have it on the slides. It's 199 spell power. But yeah, that's it for weapons.
Yeah.
It's very strong.
Also, the blacksmith blade if you have some cash to drop. But
Yeah, blacksmith blade is
Eternium,
better
yeah.
than
Titanium, yeah.
But I wouldn't craft that in all honesty.
Offhands get pretty simple once again. Got a few options here. Pretty much Flame Tongue is going to be Fire Destro. You got Orb. It kind of fits the same thing as the Nex, I feel like, with Orb. Like, I don't want to go, do you want to stack too much shadow damage with Affliction for sure, but as Demo and spell damage. I mean, Demo and Shadow
not even
Destro.
for sure. Honestly,
Yeah.
Affliction not even for sure because you're still using Immolate.
Yeah, I like, well, I don't use Immolate as some Ruin. I use it as UA. It depends on the fight, though, too, and my mana.
Mm,
That's just me, though. I don't use Immolate every time. I play it weird.
kinda should. I think you should.
Yeah.
Like, you
Sometimes
should
I
use
don't. If I'm
Immolate.
low, if my mana's fucked up, I'm not Immolating. Personally,
That's
But
fair.
That's just me. Yeah.
Yeah,
that's just me.
fair.
That's fair.
As
for
some
mana
Ruin, by the way.
consideration. Yeah. For mana
I go
consideration.
Khadgar's Knapsack 9 times out of 10. Obviously, not if you're fire, but I go Khadgar's Knapsack because I like to have that Immolate damage just to further on the Immolate, right? Piggyback off it. I don't want to have too much things that are all shadow damage with Frozen Shadow Wave, the neck, the offhand, all that. What do you guys think? You guys?
I think Khadgar's is arguably the offhand to go to for most specs, unless you're specifically fire.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's,
yeah.
That's just what you should be running as any other spec. You should be running Khadgar's. Obviously, the Flame Tongue Seal for fire, straight up. It's on, and like, just look at that, how much better it is than your other options, right? The fire offhand is a lot better.
But I don't want anyone in chat or on YouTube to get the wrong idea. Just because we're saying Khadgar's is the optimal option, if you guys are not near Phase 1 BiS, you're still lacking some of your crafted gear, or you're lacking some tier pieces and you're lacking hit rating. Just because we're saying Khadgar's is good does not mean the Jewel of Infinite Possibilities bad.
Thank you.
Jewel of Infinite Possibilities is also very, very good. But as you get more and more gear, you don't really need 21 hit rating all that much. It's a ton of hit rating, and it's very easy for you to go over hit cap with good gear if you're running Jewel of Infinite Possibilities. So
Yeah,
that's
it's-
why we're saying Khadgar's is good. But don't sleep on Jewel. If you don't have good gear and you see this drop, take it.
Yeah, of course.
Also,
Thank you,
one thing for Jewel. If you're tanking Leoteras, you're gonna use Fire Res gear, which doesn't have hit, and Jewel is gonna be amazing in that case.
Mm-hmm. There you go.
Yeah.
Thank you
Right,
guys for
yep.
chiming in. I like that. I didn't even say that. Jpaint, anything? Oh, you're
No, I'm
super-
good.
yeah.
Basically, what Alive said. The offhand is just the reason we're saying Khadgar's is the offhand is just not really an efficient place to get a lot of hit, where you can do that in other pieces of gear. But like Alive said, if you have bad gear, you don't have all your crafted stuff. Jewel is a great option to gain a lot of hit.
Or just play a real spec, fire, and take Flame Tongue.
Yeah, or that. All right, what do we got left? Wands, right?
Yes, last and least, wands. Someone take it from me.
So,
I feel like... go ahead. You first. You first.
well, I mean, once again, it's a slot where
It's
if
a
you
flex.
fire, yeah, but like it's a flex slot. But if you fire, you have a very good option, and it's your good old Firestone. So it's like straight up 30 damage. So you have that.
Yeah, I will say that your Firestone as a Fire Warlock is technically your best
Yeah, I forgot to put that on there. I'm
wand.
sorry. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah,
Just
your
ignore
best
the fact that
wand.
I forgot about that.
Discrimination.
Obviously, that's again if you don't need to gain hit on your wand. Obviously, if you need to gain hit on your wand, you're using Tristfall or Tristfall Wand of
Tristfall,
Ascendancy. Yeah. So yeah, it's pretty straightforward. Obviously, Iridar and the Blackstock are pretty dead even. I mean, the
Just a little bit ahead.
Yeah, the Mag Wand is a little bit better just because it has 11 intellect on it, but either one that you get is,
Right.
you know.
By the way, Doomfinger is basically the Mag Wand, but without the stats.
The reason I didn't put classic items in here is because I did a little poll and it was like 7%, like 92% of my YouTube community don't have any classic gear. So I was like, I'm just leave it out. But yeah, thank you for mentioning that. I have a question though. I don't play Fire, which is why I completely forgot Firestone. I feel like Blackstock would be better than Firestone. Am I drunk?
No. So for Fire Destro, crit rating, one crit rating is about 0.7 spell power,
Okay.
right? So
Okay.
total Blackstock, you're talking about 27.7 crit or spell power equivalent, right? So it doesn't outweigh, yeah.
Okay,
if it had some intellect on it or something, yeah, but
Wand of Fates is good too. I think Wand of Fates has the 8 hit on it instead of the 9. Wand of Fates is not better than Firestone, no.
No, it's not better than Firestone. It's actually worse than everything that you see here. It's just good. I mean, I know I used to have it.
Garbage.
It's just that you. No, it's okay.
Nether Core's Rod has one more hit rating, and that's from a normal. Just saying.
Yeah. That's the problem. Like from Naxxramas, you have Doomfinger and Wand of Fate. Doomfinger replaced by Magteridon, and Wand of Fate is replaced by Alcatraz. I think so, something like that. So
yeah,
like I've seen like 4, no joke, 3 or 4 of these Eridor wands drop. Like I don't know the chance of that or whatever RNG, but these seem to be dropping. Where like none of the Warlocks need them. It's like that. It's a popular one. Like you're gonna get those. Nobody cares about them really, so you can end up with one. And it's used to like by the time it takes you to get into phase 2, you can have it's Karazhan, weekly Karazhan. You can pug that eventually, right? Like you can get that one from Aeron. It's good. I like going in with both wands. So that's why I don't play Fire. So I'm not speaking for Fire. But I like to use both wands, one for trash, one for bosses, vice versa.
Sorry, just also one thing that I apparently am seeing in chat, just to make sure. So we are not a hit cap or burst class. It's a trade-off. So if you have like something that has hit, but something that's clearly better, don't just take the hit because I need to be hit cap. I know it doesn't feel the best to resist. Like trust me, I know. I've been playing classic, but definitely think of it in terms of equivalent spell power. So some things, like for instance, we have a discussion on Wand of Fate in the chat. Like if you have Wand of Fate, like use Firestone instead. For instance, if you're Fire, there's little kind of things like that. Or for instance, don't use a blue that has hit over something that's like clearly better but doesn't have hit just to hit cap.
Right, and to figure all that stuff out, I recommend getting into Sims, right, and seeing what your stat weights are and your equivalent spell power values for hit rating, crit rating, know what they're worth. For example, I'll just touch on why Wand of Fates is not better than Firestone, right? So even if you need all the hit, for Wand of Fates, you have 8 hit on it. It's about 1.8 spell power for hit, maybe a little bit less. So you're looking at, I don't know, like 14 and a half spell power from the hit rating, right? And then you gain 12 from just raw spell power. So you're at 26 and a half spell power versus the 30 just that you already have on Firestone. So that's why the equivalent system is very important to understand how different stats affect your DPS.
I mean, you could just put it in a really blown up way where it's like, let's say you're at 12% hit rating and you need 13%. And there was a wand that gave you exactly 1%, or a wand that gave you 100 spell power. There's just no world where you wouldn't take that 100 spell power, because that 100 spell power is going to affect 98% of your shadow bolts.
Yeah.
But the chance for that 1% hit rating to actually appear in your damage profile and make an impact is low. Is it still good? Yes. But the spell power will remain constant and always affect your damage. So it's just like in Classic. Even in Classic, if any of you guys in chat or on YouTube played Classic, you guys are all well aware that we didn't go for hit cap because it just wasn't good enough. And it's the same in TBC, and it's going to be the same pretty much forever. Does hit get more and more valuable as your character gets stronger and stronger? And do you get pushed more towards wanting hit rating? Yes, the stronger your character is, the more powerful your kit is, the more important hit rating is going to be. But does it have this infinite value that will always outweigh absolutely everything in the world? No.
Yep, that is correct. I mean, that's as deep into it as you can go. Just understand your stat weights, understand your character, understand why you're using certain pieces of gear. I think that the wand is our last piece of gear, right? So I think that's all we had planned to cover. Do we want to take questions now, or?
I say we move on to questions. It looks like chat has been lighting
Videos
us
up.
with questions so far.
Mm-hmm.
It's been a good pace. What do you guys got for us, chat? Any juicy ones?
Let's see. Anything?
We want to go to an hour, but we're an hour and a half, which is fine because we're vibing right now, talking about our favorite class ever. People with SAF and KT Trinket. KT Trinket is very good to use. You're going to use it a lot, but you're not going to find a lot of undead and demons in T5 besides like Leo's demon, and I think I'm missing one, but I don't remember the name of it. You're not going to get a lot of use out of it, though. You know what I mean? You what?
Ilhoof?
No, yeah, I was talking about T5, yeah.
Oh, no, sorry, not T5.
Yeah, it's Ilhoof and Kara. And also, right now, obviously, Mag is a demon. It's very strong against him. It's your best option.
Well, Mag depends on depends how long you take on phase 1.
Yeah, it depends how long your ad phase is and your strategy.
It's a trade-off for sure.
Yeah, talk about tier 5 4-piece bonus. That's for future episodes. But that's a spicy topic right now.
It's not good. Spoiler
Ass.
alert.
Yeah,
It's ass. Spank,
it's
you know
not.
this game. You know this game more. You know Warlock's better than all of us in here, and you know it's ass. He just is trolling right now.
It's just debate. I am
who's the
excited
best
to
Warlock
talk
on
about
stream right
T5
now?
though.
Probably alive. He's got better parses than us, bro. He's 99 to 100 out. I'm only a little 98,
count.
99. Bro.
Demo doesn't count, bro.
Oh, Demo doesn't count.
Well,
Yikes. Are you trying to tell me if he went Shadow Death Show, he wouldn't still get those parses?
I'm only the top parser because I don't play cringe fire. That's the only reason.
He wouldn't play Shadow Destro though. He doesn't.
Well,
want
because you
that.
can't compete as Cringe-Fire.
Okay.
Yo, you know what they said to you, Abide? Or I mean, alive? They said,
Trust me, you're not that guy.
you're not that guy, bud.
All right, we got
Underrated-
any actual questions?
Oh,
Please
Underrated
discuss it.
items to watch for in T5. Yes, we're gonna do a whole episode about T5 soon.
Please discuss
We
the
are.
value of Blade of Wizardry, explicit for AoE/speed seed spam in comparison to Gruul. Alright, so on seed spam, he's basically asking how much better is Blade of Wizardry than your Gruul dagger, your Prince dagger, or Gruul sword, Prince dagger for seed spam.
I think
For
it
seed
depends
spam.
on
It depends on
the
what you
health of the mob. Yeah.
It does, right? It depends how many seeds are going out, but typically haste is king, procs are king for seed spam. Once you hit a certain amount of mobs, obviously your spell power does nothing, and already seed has an extremely low spell power coefficient. I think it's like 14% or something.
22.
So
22.
yeah, 22. Okay.
You just want to
So-
make sure they crit.
I mean, before AoE cap, it scales about as well with crit and with spell power. Just to give an idea.
Yeah, but haste is just
Well, haste is even better than that. If it gains you cast, which is
Yeah.
normally not that big of an issue because on long fight you can say it averages out, but on seed situation, generally speaking, you have like anywhere between like 2 to 6, 7 seeds, or 3 to 6, 7 seeds. So it really depends on whether you can fit one more.
Yeah, I will say that I plan to use Quag's Eye and Blade of Wizardry in my AoE set for the rest of the game. That's how
I
strong
think-
it is. That's how
Yeah,
good it
I
is.
won't be using Blade of Wizardry for now because it's slightly too expensive for me, and but you know.
I'm not gonna
I
use it
mean-
either.
I'm a big fan of haste, and I like it a lot. I think it's certainly good for seed spam, but like, let's say you're stacking 4 mag ads or something along those lines. The haste doesn't. It does. It adds a lot of DPS until you go and then when you get to the point where you and like life tap once or twice and then seed and then life tap and seed and life tap, it doesn't really give you all that much value. But if the mobs have low enough health where you can seed them down and they die before you go or like, let's say you add a mana pot into that rotation and they die before you after the mana pot and demonic rune, then it's super good. But if they have a lot of health and it takes like multiple and then life taps and life taps, that's when I start to lean towards not liking it so much.
There's a question for you, Fire Runs, right there. Last one. I'm Fire Dash Show, but I've been debating going Shadow for a fight like Ilhoof since you're seeding. But my problem is I'm full Fire base, so my Fire gear is so much better than my Shadow gear, and I'm wondering if that gear differential isn't worth the swap to Shadow.
So, generally speaking, if you're seeding, you kind of want to swap to Shadow. On Ilhoof specifically, I tried the Hellfire strat. Let me tell you right now, it's garbage. So so you do want to be Shadow, and honestly, even if you're like full Bisfire, due to how Seed works, you can still put together a very good Seed set even for that boss. Basically, you slap 4-piece Oblivion, you get Quagseye, you get Nexus Horn, then you just compensate the hit pretty much here and there, and you're done. That's literally just what you have to do. So you run some dungeons, get 4-piece Oblivion, done for your set.
So for Ilhuff in general, even if you're wearing full Spellfire gear, you're gonna do more damage just if you sack your Succubus and still wear full Spellfire. Just because of how poorly Seed scales with spell power, you're gaining way more from sacking a Succubus than actually changing your gear. So that's one fight where Seed is extremely strong. You should change gear still. I'm not saying wear Spellfire and sack a Succubus. I'm just saying you will gain more from sacking a Succubus than wearing plus fire gear.
Yeah, also,
I will say real quick though, another way to solve that problem, it's more of an expensive way, but if you're Fire Dasher, I don't care what anybody says, or Shadow, you should have both sets, to be honest. If you're Fire, you can get your other off pieces. You can get the pieces and use it in the background, and then you'll be all right, right? So Spellfire belt, girdle, gloves, whatever, whatever gloves you can get.
Right,
chest,
like I mean, I have girdle crafted for tier 5 specifically progression on trash and stuff, right? I'm not gonna use Spellfire on trash, so I have girdle crafted. It's just something you need to build 2 sets. You need to be flexible if you're Fire Destro.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
One other question I've seen earlier on is like, what tier 4 items we want to use in tier 5? Well, like which one will we carry over specifically? I think that definitely is of interest. So what are your thoughts? Obviously there's the 2-piece tier 4, but
we have 2-piece T4. You have a glove. You have your cloak. I mean, you might be using your offhand if you're not using Fathom Stone. You'll be using Frozen Shadowy boots. You can use Spell Strike pants. Girdle Ruination will get replaced with Belt of Blasting, but you might be use Girdle for a while. And your trinkets.
Spellfire gloves are another big item that you want to keep.
Yeah.
And
also Spellfire in general, if you're not lucky with the vestment of the Sea Witch.
Yeah, so we'll talk about this on tier 5. Real short TLDR. You don't break full Spellfire until you get vestments, but that's all we're gonna say about that.
I'm glad you answered that, because I actually got asked that. That's like one of my most popular questions, and I don't ever know what to say.
We'll talk about that in another episode.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, I feel like me, Jpaint, Ryusei, pretty much everyone here, I think we're all super hyped to talk about tier 5.
I
know I've been running a ton of sims, and there's a lot of different bosses where it's like, this spec does slightly better on this boss, this spec does slightly better on this boss, but sadly that will be in a future episode. So just make sure you guys keep tuning in for these episodes, and we certainly will be covering it because all 4 of us are super hyped to talk about T5. Mm-hmm. But for now, we're going to talk about phase 1.
Yep. And this episode's actually over. So if you guys want to go ahead and toss a live, I know you're streaming, not as much, but you should stream more often. Go ahead and link your stuff in here because I don't know where to find it.
I am going to be streaming tomorrow, actually, for the whole raid reset as the Demo Pumper.
There you go. Link it. Go ahead and toss a live. I know you're streaming. My background noise. Sorry about that. Ryan, Jpaint, you guys don't do anything yet, do you? Link some spreadsheets. Link something. Give us something.
Find me in the Discord, man.
Find them in the Warlock Discord, which will be posted right after I'm Alive's post. Warlock Discord.
Don't DM me, though. Don't DM me. I don't like that.
Damn it. You guys can DM me, don't worry. It gets flooded, but I try to answer them.
People DM me all the time. If you do, I'm gonna try to answer. Can't guarantee I'll do it on a timely manner, but doing my best.
If you DM me, ask a very simple question, please. It's either a yes or no.
Before we wrap up, I did have a question for you guys in here. So for episode 3, were we still planning to do the quad hot tub stream, or
Oh yeah.
Still doing that, or
Yep. Quad hot tub stream.
All right. Yeah.
100%.
What, you don't like being in a hot tub with me, Alive?
Look, we can share a hot tub, but I'm still not going to share a bed with you, okay? No matter how much you want it.
There you go.
I think that ship has sailed already, though.
We're going to... Nice. We're done here, guys. We're going to... This is going to obviously be on YouTube. If you're listening to us already on YouTube, we're going to end the stream by hosting a good friend of mine. He is the #1 shaman in the world in the US for arena. So I'm just gonna give it to him because he's pumping something, right? So might as well get some light on him. But we love you guys. We'll see you on next week on Sunday or Monday. We'll let you know. Keep in touch. It's It's gonna be parsing tips for sure next week. We decided that this probably should have went first because it's about gearing, right? So next week we'll do all the parsing tips going over 25 mans, all right? So any questions? Once again, Warlock Discord's posted right there. Live inside of that, ask questions. There's a bunch of channels. You can hit me up, DM me, do whatever you want, bug me, I'll answer questions. And until then, we'll see you next time. Peace, peace.
All right, take care, everyone.
See
Bye.
you guys.
Thanks for having us.